right, folks, happy Sunday. Last video, we had the local resources for public records requests. I wanted to elaborate on those, and I'm going to take you a step further into state government. A lot of times, the reason why, a lot of times it is cheaper and more efficient to request it from the state side just because the county has a smaller staff. And so they might be more likely to charge you when they have to have an extensive use of resources. State of Florida is routinely used to filling public records requests. You know, they have a protocol. Sometimes their OGC is involved, and they know the law. They just generally has been my experience over the past 10 to 15 years that I've been requesting public records is that sometimes it's easier to get it from the state side. So let's say you're requesting emails. If you are looking for those emails, that is that communication between the county and the state, it might make more sense to get it from the state side than it would to get it from the county side, because the state side probably has better IT staff. Their IT staff is internal, whereas the county farms that out by contract. So just by its nature, sometimes depending on what you're looking for, make sure you explore a 360-degree view of who has their hands in it and who is subject to public records. Conversely, Florida Association of Counties is not subject to public records law. However, Wakulla County is. So if you want to know about emails between Florida Association of Counties and Wakulla County, then you would go to Wakulla County, because if you go to Florida Association of Counties, they're going to tell you to kick rocks. FYI, though, anything to do with the lawsuits, Florida Association of Counties Trust, those are open to public record. So little bit different things. With that said, that leads me into why you see this on your screen, which is called the First Amendment Foundation. When I first started requesting public records many moons ago, these people really helped me. Now, I think they've had some staffing changes within the organization, so I don't know how good they are at helping one-on-one anymore. These people are busy. There's only a handful of organizations like this that are, into making sure we can get access to the information that we are entitled to. So, great resource. This particular page that I pulled up for you that I wanted you to see is about requesting and providing public records. So, gives you some great tips. Now, and it says here, put the request in writing. Well, you don't have to, right? But it makes sense. And it makes sense to send an email so you have a written record of when you requested it. You can follow up with it. You can also do all of that anonymously if you like. So this gives you just a little roadmap. Ask to inspect unfamiliar or voluminous records. Now, we all know that doesn't happen too often in our working class world, right? Because we all work during the day. We don't have time for that. So if you have the time, or if you know somebody that has the time, I think it's a great way to explore public records. I just don't think most of us have time to go 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. We also work. Agree in advance to pay 15 cents per page for copies of records that are only a few pages. So, yeah, they can charge you 15 cents a page. Here's the funny thing. There is no provision for charging you for electronic copies. We all know that nowadays everything is electronic. So, yeah, if you need printed pages, you should expect to pay the 15 cents per page. If you don't need printed pages, I don't see why you need to pay 15 cents per page. Now, like I said, judicial records are different, and we might have to dedicate a video to that because that's a whole nother ballgame. Ask for a citation to any exemption. Absolutely. The funny thing about that is it's good for you to know that. I don't feel like you have to put that in your upfront public records request. I feel like if you go that route, it's kind of being attacking. Like, hey, if you tell me I can't have this, then it just starts off bad communication. So I always start with an assumption that it's not exempt. And then if they come back and say you can't have that, usually they will go and cite it, right? These people are professionals. They know what they're doing most of the time. There might be times when you need to argue a little bit if you feel like something isn't exempt from public records, but for the most part, they're going to know what the exemptions are, or somebody has guided them to tell them. And if they can't give you a record, they're going to tell you why. So my suggestion is not to start the conversation that way. But that is totally up to you. If that's something you want to do, I think, go for it. As for a written explanation of a denial, absolutely, all the time. I don't think you need to do that up front either. But in case they do, you definitely should ask. It's something you need to know. As for a prompt acknowledgement and response, usually they know that they need to promptly respond. Now, I have sent records requests before that a couple of days go by, and so I'll follow up. And this is the great thing about email. You have the sent date, you have the sent email, you know when it was sent. I've had to follow up and say, hi, did you receive this request? And many times I've gotten an email back saying, oh, I am so sorry. I thought I responded. I did not. Or this went to our spam folder or whatever. So yeah, that's why I'm all about email, because you can track everything. Be willing to take one bite at a time. This is lucky number 7 on this screen, and I wholeheartedly agree. You have got to realize that the bigger and broader your public records request is, the more likely you will open yourself up to fees and you will open yourself up to time wasting. So save everybody time and chip off the old block as much as you can. And I've got you an example made up for a public records request, and we're going to look at that. And I'm going to tell you why we do and how we do the things we do when we make public records requests. Be willing to negotiate always. If you're asking for something that's voluminous and you can't really think about narrowing it down, you might want to have the conversation. Let's say you don't want to be anonymous. If you're cool with it, and I've had people call me, I made a records request to the Ethics Commission, and I left my phone number because I don't have any reason to be anonymous, really. The lady called me and was so nice and so helpful. And she's like, well, can I narrow down like what you're looking for? And I told her, and she goes, that's interesting. She's like, well, give me a couple of days. If you don't mind, would you send an email, send me another email with the narrower scope. Give me a couple of days to look for it. Well, it turns out she didn't find any records, but her response was awesome. It was, I cannot confirm or deny whether or not these records exist, basically. So I don't know if there was any. Somebody told her not to provide them. I don't know. Maybe she just wanted to make sure she covered all her bases. It wasn't something that was super important, so I didn't pursue it. But always be willing to negotiate. And if you can communicate with them, there's also a thing called a Google number. I've only used that one time, and I don't remember what I used it for, but somebody told me there is a thing with Google that you can get a temporary Google number. It's through the WhatsApp. So if you guys want to look into that, that may be a way to remain anonymous if you need to do a phone call. Make practice requests. Now, let me read this. If you expect to deal with the same, call up anything and do it on yourself. That's fun. I might have to do more of that. And don't give up. That's absolutely true. So I know it will be frustrating. There are also people that will help you along the way. There are attorneys that will handle public records lawsuits. We probably won't get into that until I am done exhausting everything I can tell you how to use your rights. Then will tell you, then I'll go into about what remedies might be available to you and maybe some contact information. I am not an attorney. I have never filed a public records lawsuit. So my knowledge is limited. However, I have read many public records lawsuits and their outcomes, and it's quite interesting. So it is a thing. Know that those remedies are there. I wouldn't ever threaten anybody with a lawsuit. I don't think that's a good way to get public records. So here's a sample request. So if you want this sample request, it's on this website. And they're getting a little more in the weeds with, certain things, and it's pursuant to the Article 1, blah, 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 yada, yada. So this is Florida Center for Government Accountability. And if you look up here on the right-hand side, you'll see the Trident News. And you can go over here and see their featured news articles. And what I find is really cool about this is if you keep going down, view our news archive. I believe the Kemp case article is in here somewhere. Maybe. Yeah, Facebook doxing target speaks out as criminally charged county commissioner and deputy face arraignment today. But in the big scheme of things, this is about government accountability, right? It's not about partisan. We are all going to have a difference of opinion, even if you are on the same political side of political ideology. We're still going to have a difference of opinion. Not everybody's going to agree all the time. So I would suggest, can you just set that aside for a minute? And here are public access initiatives, Guide to Florida Government, records requests, and they're doing some really cool things here. You might want to poke around in here, election coverage, newsroom, featured news, Trident. They are going to be opening up a vault, publicly accessible vault. The Florida Center for Government Accountability maintains a publicly accessible vault that hosts the documents obtained through its journalism and litigation. Encourages non-affiliated journalists to deposit public record documents in the vault. So I'm not a journalist. Thank God. It would be bad. I wouldn't make any money. But I will be contributing to that vault when they get it up and running. So it hasn't come about yet. It's something they're working on, but just know that it's coming. You see a couple of things right here: citizen support, free guidance and support, investigative journalism. These are all great things. I will say that I have reached out to them for questions, and it took them a little while to get back to me. So if you reach out to them, I would give them a little while, a couple weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks, then follow up. But they are busy. These folks are busy. There's a lot going on, and, public records be had, by golly. Now, let me switch gears. I'm going to pull this in. It's just a little Word document I made up. And I'm going to put this actually in the blog post. So I actually did my video backwards, I confess. The blog post will be second, what I do today. But I'm going to put this in the blog post. So your synopsis is, you wish to request emails for a specific commissioner on a specific subject. You don't know how many emails this may return and want to minimize the out-of-pocket expenses. Your commissioner is Commissioner Doe, and the dates you want to explore are from 8/1/24 to 2/15/25. You can request the records in electronic format because they originate in that format. So that is important. Most everything nowadays is electronic. If you're going way back, 20 years ago, they might not even have the records. Depends on your retention schedule. And there is an actual retention schedule. It is put out by the state of Florida, I believe, Department of State. All right, so back to this. We're going to request emails for a specific commissioner on a specific subject. You don't know how many emails it will return. Now, below here, right here, Dear Public Records Custodian. Now, that is just what I use. I don't know where I got that from. I don't know. It was probably one of those form prints like on the First Amendment Foundation. I am requesting the following public records in an electronic format. So right there, I'm telling them I want it in electronic format. Type, email correspondence. Originating format, electronic. And the reason why originating format, I think that's important because it kind of ties it to, I want it in electronic format because that's how it originated. It's an email. Dates, here's your dates. From Commissioner John Doe to all recipients, to Commissioner John Doe from all senders, right? You want them incoming and you want them outgoing. Now, I put this paragraph in here to show you how you can already start the negotiation process. You can get in front of it. Now, before I go on, what did I miss? Can you guys see what I missed? I didn't give them a subject. There you go. Now you have a subject, right? You want to make sure you have the subject, because if not, they're going to try and just give you everything for all of this. Now, you might just want their emails. You just might want everything from January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. You can get that. And I'm going to show you what I would do if I was going to try to request those records. So your next paragraph, if the records returned are voluminous, please provide a printout of the Microsoft Outlook inbox and sent items for the date specified. This method can be accomplished by using the table style print setting within Outlook. I will then submit a new public records request for specific emails of interest. Electronic delivery is preferred. If there is a fee for extensive use of personnel and or technology, please provide me with a detailed written invoice for review. Thank you, Wakulla County citizen. I'm just assuming you want to remain anonymous. So, easy enough. What then you could do is, let's say these kicks back 500 emails. Instead of, so what they will have to do is then go through each and every email to see and look for any information that is exempt. Well, if you go ahead on the front end and just request, and you could totally do it this way. You could just go in and say, hey, I want the Outlook printout for Mr. Doe, Commissioner Doe's emails for the past 5 years. And it'll probably be, it just depends on how many emails you got, but 20 pages or so. And it'll just be a listing, and it'll show you the subject line. It'll show you to, from, all that good stuff. And then you can go look at those emails. And here's the other thing. You can get the last email chain. So if the email chains all before aren't complete, if they were going to have to go through everything and you wanted all those emails, then they would have to go individually through each email chain, and they're re-reviewing. So think about how much time it takes them and then how much it costs you. Doesn't work for anybody. Just saying. All right, so we're going to move on from this. I'm going to put this out there for you on the Fire Drive, and you can take a look at it. So with that armor that you have now, that's kind of an example, and you can use that format. You're free to copy and paste it, whatever you want to do with it. We're going to move over to making state public records requests. So here's the thing with this. The state is a huge place, right? And they usually have a run-of-the-mill info public records at Florida Department of Environmental, FloridaDEP.com. Well, some agencies are really good about keeping up with those. Some agencies are not. So, couple of things. You probably don't want to email the secretary. I would look for people like a chief, or the OGC's office is helpful. You can start wherever you want. But let's just say you wanted to look, this is a great example. We're going to go look at Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and we want somebody that knows about these wastewater things. Actually, that's a good one, because I actually did a public records request to DEP like a week ago, and they still haven't responded. So I'm getting ready to escalate it, so it's going to show you how to do that. What we are going to do is search state payroll. So if you don't know about this, you can use this website. It is open to the public, and you can search state payroll. Only we're not really interested in a person. We're just interested in an agency. So Department of Environmental Protection. And we know we want to get a person with a little authority. So let's go up from $75,000 a year. And let's hit a search. All right, so it returned 1 to 10 of 310 entries, filtered from 105,000. So let's export those, and I'm going to show you why I export it. Now you can data sort by salary, and you want it from largest to smallest. See who's getting paid, because usually somebody's getting paid. So here you have it. You've got the secretary, that's the head human. Then you've got the executive director. Okay, so let's look at, we want to go that high, or do we just want to see wastewater? Maybe we'll just look at wastewater. So go back to your sort. Well, actually, you could go over here and filter. So let's go to filter. Let's get your budget entity. So we're looking for water. There you go. Water science and laboratory. Hit OK. All right, now this looks good. Let's go with this person, program administrator. So you can pick that one out, Denise Miller, and she's with DEP. Now we're going to set this to the side. All right, this is your Florida as a right to know. I will put that link for you in the video description and on the blog. And now you are at the Florida 411. So this is an open online telephone directory for the state of Florida. And it even has schools, university listings. I have never used all that. I have only used by agency, but mostly by employee. So we have employee name, Miller, Denise. And looky there, we got a hit the first time. Now, you won't always get that person the first time. Also, if their name is like James and they go by Jim, they might be listed as Jim instead of James. So a lot of times what I would do is go Miller, that's the last name. And then I knew that the person's last name was Miller, so I would just go to environmental protection, and then you get all the Millers, and then you have to go look. So here it is, Denise Miller, and right there it gives you her phone number and her email. Now, I don't say call these people and bug them. They are trying to do their job, but you could certainly copy someone with a little bit of authority on your email to your public records request that's in that department. So see, this is what I tell you about doing your homework on the front end of a public records request. Don't just throw it to them and say, oh, you figure out who's going to fill this request. There is nothing wrong with doing a little homework on the front end. It makes it easier for you. It makes it easier for them. And then when you copy someone on your email with a little bit of authority within the organization, then you have a better chance of actually getting your records and getting somebody to do a good job. I had an experience, I can't remember which agency it was, but this team of a guy with the OGC, Office of General Counsel, and another girl filled some records requests for me, and they were rock stars. I mean, we do have good public servants, so don't ever think that we don't. All right, now you got your 411. This is Department of Administrative Hearings. You can search this database by, all different 6 ways to Tuesday. You can do case status, you can do agency. Let's try that. Yeah, here you go. Here's like a whole bunch of hearings. Wakulla County Board, Ray Gray. Attorney General opinions. So sometimes this is helpful when you're looking for a certain type of public record. I wonder how long it's been since they updated it. I just noticed this is the earliest date they have for an Attorney General opinion. So we haven't had anything since 2024. But maybe they do it once a year. I mean, there was only 2 in 2020. Well, no, it was 4 in 2023. Owner, builder exemption, clerk sale. I mean, there's just, anytime you have a question about something going on in the county, you might search this database. Here is something I just mentioned. I just threw this in at the last minute. These are your general record schedules. This is state and local government. You can download this PDF. It tells you what their retention schedules look like. So that might be part of your preliminary research before you send a public records request. Anyway, I'm over 30 minutes. I'm going to try and shorten this sucker for you. And I will have another video out shortly, probably at the end of next week, unless I just get a wild hair in the middle of the week. So y'all have a great work week and stay warm. It's going to get cold. Take care.